My name is Sameer Gupta and I am an Indian IT businessman. Growing up in India, Pakistan was always the enemy country. It was the monster that could never be satiated with anything. It was always out there to hurt India. My first interaction with a Pakistani was in London in 1994. I had gone there for business. And I would frequent the Brick Lane, which is essentially an Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi street where there are lots of restaurants. So there's this restaurant called the Clifton Tandoori, which served good quality food at very reasonable prices. Now what was interesting was the first day I went to Clifton Tandoori, the manager, upon knowing that I was from India, started complaining. And you talk about India, what it's doing in Kashmir, what India did in 1971, and Now, given that I was getting good food and it wasn't very expensive, I tolerated that rubbish. For the next couple of days, I would just go there, ignore whatever the guy said, and have the food. But there's something interesting that I started noticing. What I noticed is that the restaurant owner would serve extra food to me. That I would order a dal and he would give me a sabzi at the same price. The other thing is, in that restaurant, almost everything all the breads were made of refined flour. Whereas when I told him that I preferred whole wheat flour, he started making some dough just for myself and he would make rotis for myself. I was really intrigued. I mean, here was a man who apparently really hated India and who was going out of his way to make me comfortable. So over the years, then I started meeting more and more Pakistanis. And I've got so many stories of absolute love and hospitality from Pakistanis that I received over the years. In 1996, I started following the Pakistani newspaper Dawn's website. That was very interesting because I started getting the Pakistani perspective around what was happening. Interestingly enough, it was a mirror image of the narrative that I had grew up with. In 2003, when the Indian cricket team visited Pakistan, I told all the friends that I had that they were going to go, people were going to go to Pakistan and be absolutely blown away. That Pakistanis really loved India. Of course, I was called a Pakistani, I was called Sameer Muhammad, I was mocked by people. But when they came back, there were wonderful reports of all the love that the Pakistanis have poured on the Indians, visiting Indians. Moving on, in 2012, I joined Facebook. And on Facebook, one of the first few groups I joined was a group called Aman Ki Asha. That was a peace initiative, jointly by the Jung Group and the Times of India. But what was interesting in that group was that although there were people who were there to bite each other's head off, but there were still a lot of people who were actually really reaching out and building bridges. And even those people who were very hyper nationalist, they were beginning to see a different point of view. One of the people, a Pakistani nationalist I met in that group, was a friend called Tariq Jamil Khan. And over the years, both of us have moderated our points of view and we've become very good friends. To the extent that I'm here in Karachi right now because his daughter's just gotten married and I want to participate in that wedding. Which brings me to my experience this time. So as I came out of Wagah and we were traveling to Lahore, we stopped for some fruit juice from a roadside vendor. Upon learning that we had come from India, the fruit juice vendor refused to take money. He said, "आप तो हमारे मेहमान हैं, हम आपसे पैसे कैसे ले सकते हैं?" There was a guava vendor standing just a few feet away. And then his eyes lit up and he walked up to me and he said, "आप इंडिया से हैं?" I said, हाँ मैं तो इंडिया से हूँ. He brought me a gift. He gave me a guava. I was really moved by it. You know, for all the work we do on social media, and there's so much skepticism, people saying that, a lot of people told me, the common man in Pakistan actually hates you. All this camaraderie on Facebook is only with, the educated people who've traveled well, and that's just complete rubbish. The common man in Pakistan is actually very peace loving and welcomes Indians. And I've said this several times to people. As an Indian, if you want to be treated as a VIP, just cross the border and come over to Pakistan. It'll be a mind-blowing experience for you. So now, having shared that, a lot of people ask me, if there's so much love that Pakistanis have for Indians, and vice versa, by the way, then what on earth is happening on our borders? What about the stories on our respective media about what the other country is doing? About the terrible language used by our diplomats in global platforms like the United Nations General Assembly. See, the problem is that our institutions, our bureaucracy, our security agencies, they are stuck in a time warp. They're stuck in a narrative that pits the other as the enemy. And that then gets fed to us. The media, by the way, not latches on to that narrative, and to sell copies, it sensationalizes issues, it sensationalizes incidents, just so that it can make money. If you remember in the good old days when there used to be, in the 80s and 90s, there used to be these movies where the hero meets the heroine and they fall in love. And then they discover, oh my God, your grandfather and my grandfather, we've been fighting for three generations, because they had a fight at some point. That's exactly what's happening. The leadership of the two countries, they fought each other and there were ego clashes in the 1930s and 40s. And what they've done is they've passed that hate on to successive generations. The good news is, like in the movies, when the Indians and Pakistanis, the current generation, meet, we absolutely love each other. And therein lies the hope. You know why they make it so difficult for Indians and Pakistanis to visit the other country? They don't want us to meet. Because if that happens, the wall of hatred will fall. There are about 5 million Facebook connections happen between Indians and Pakistanis every single day. You've got groups like Aman Ki Asha, Agaz Dosti, Hurr India Pakistan, Pak Bandhu. You've got all these groups of people come and meet, and they find out about each other. And they find out that actually there's a lot of affinity. And I think technology will be the saving grace. Technology will actually enable these interactions, and we will find out how hollow these narratives of hatred are. If you are an Indian or a Pakistani watching this video, here's my request for you. Go out and join one of these Facebook groups. Make friends. Find out about each other's countries and the people and the interests. And when you do that, you will realize that this hatred is superficial, that deep down there's a lot of fraternity and a lot of affinity. Thank you so much for watching this video.